as we're backing up, we saw something move from the left. He walked out from behind the tree. This thing moved out in front of us. He was probably 10 to 15 feet in front of us. I mean, it was pretty close. And I mean, I remember looking at this thing right in his eyes. Very large male, probably 7.5 feet. The hair was like a reddish brown color, very human face.
This is the Cryptid Creature Show. I am Brian, and with me as always, my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How you doing this evening? Hope all is well with you.
Oh yeah, going good, you know.
Great.
Living.
You know, we just got back from the Wild Man and Crypticon conference.
Tennessee,
Wild Man and Crypticon. In Tennessee, down there in the Montgomery Bell State Park. That was a cool event, and we met some cool people. And one of the people that we met was a little girl named Liv.
Yes, she's doing her own little podcast on the Cryptids. She's the Crypt Kid.
The Crypt Kid podcast.
Yeah.
CRYPKID podcast. She does short little shows. They're like 5-6 minutes long, but they're really good. She's 9 years old, and she's kicking it out there. So we want to give a shout out to Liv and the Crypt Kid podcast. You guys make sure you check her out.
Yeah, if you guys have kids and you're trying to get them into the cryptid space, start with her. She's good.
Definitely.
She's good.
Yeah. We'll be watching her episodes pop up there.
Obviously listen to ours too, but she's good.
No, yeah, of course. But hers are real quick and easy, and you can get them done.
Yeah.
So give her a listen, and she's really good. She's really impressive
really good
for 9 years old. Tonight's guest is Joedy Cook, and Joedy is a retired U.S. Army and Iraq War veteran, as we know. He's head of the North American Dogman Project. And he's had, I think, a Bigfoot and a Dogman encounter and maybe some more stuff going on. So we are going to bring Joedy on to talk about that.
All right. Can't wait to hear it.
Can't wait either. But first, we don't do this every episode, but sometimes we do. It is time for Cryptid Trivia.
Cryptid Trivia. All right.
Brought to you by the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. Tonight's cryptid question, Brian, is kind of a two-part question. Mostly the first part. In what year was the term Bigfoot coined, and who supposedly coined the word Bigfoot? Now you can wait till the end of the show. We'll let you take a guess.
I know
about it.
I know who coined it. I just don't know what year. I can't remember what year.
All right. Well, you can think about it as the show goes on. When we get to the end, we'll let the listeners think about it, and we'll give the answer and see how close, see where you're at.
All right.
All right. Are you ready to bring Joedy on?
Yeah, let's get him. Hey, Joedy. How are you?
Joedy, thanks for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
For the listeners out there that don't know who you are, you've got quite the resume in the cryptid world. You're the head of the North American Dogman Project, a retired U.S. Army and Iraq War veteran. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You're a Bigfoot and Dogman researcher, an author of several books. You've been on several documentaries. You've created the Ohio Center for Bigfoot Studies. Wow. That's just impressive. I mean, you've probably done a lot more than just that.
Oh, yeah.
What got you started in this? Was it having an encounter then, or?
No, I mean, it was something I've always been interested in. I think the biggest thing when I went and saw, like, The Legend of Augie Creek as a kid really got me into it. I remember going to my grandparents' farm and out there in the woods looking for Bigfoot and stuff. And it was just something that just grasped me. And I've always had an interest in it, UFOs and things like that. And, getting older and stuff, I started pursuing it a little bit more. I first got in doing UFO research. Okay. We had a group here in Cincinnati called Associates for Scientific Knowledge. And this is when public access TV was on, didn't have cable or anything. And we did a live show the first Wednesday of every month. And people could call in. We had guests and stuff. And it was a good show. It ran for about 10 years. And we were getting a lot of different reports about UFOs, but we were also getting a lot of reports about Bigfoot and other cryptids that people were calling and talking about. Excuse me. So I thought, let's look into some of this cryptid stuff because it's really interesting. So George Clapperson and myself, who was also a member, took on the task of looking at the Bigfoot sightings that were, kind of coincide with the UFO stuff and what other people were talking about, and just fell in love with it. Did the Bigfoot stuff, UFO research, and did a lot of Bigfoot research in Ohio for years. Probably, like I said, this all started in the 80s, probably to late 99, 2000 is kind of when I was kind of getting out of the Bigfoot stuff and started looking at some other cryptids in the fields and stuff. So like around 2006 is when I started to get into the Dogman stuff because there was just so much stuff that was happening. And I fell in love with it. It was just absolutely compelling, some of the stuff people were seeing. And, when you dealt with Bigfoot and some of these other cryptids, because a lot of this other stuff was just, it was all the same. Everybody's sighting was the same, same type of scenario and things like this. But the Dogman stuff was something completely different. And I fell in love with it. And just from there on, stayed with it.
So have you had an encounter with a Dogman? Or have you seen a Dogman?
I've seen a Dogman, and I also seen a Bigfoot. I had a Bigfoot sighting when I was in the Army on a U.S. military base. That was in 93, 94, I think it was the summer. And the Dogman sighting I had was 2014, I believe it was, at Daniel Boone National Forest.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Why don't you start with the Bigfoot sighting and tell us about that, and then we'll work into the Dogman.
It was in northern Michigan. We had a 50 caliber range set up. I was an instructor. It was about a week-long course, getting everybody qualified on the 50 caliber machine gun. So the teams broke up. One team took the weapons back to the armory, and the other team, which I was on, we had the ammunition. So we were trying to get the ammunition back to the ASP. It was getting late. It was on a Friday, and we're, really buckling up trying to get things done because things just ran really slow. And we had to get it there before 9 o'clock because otherwise we would have to stay with that ammunition in the vehicle until Monday morning. And that wasn't going to happen. So as we're leaving the range, we had a pretty good distance to go. And we were kind of up a little bit in a higher elevation. And we decided to go in the wood line, just go straight shot down the woods, which is a real no-no on a military base. But like you said, we needed to get there by 9 o'clock. So we're going down the, through the woods and stuff. So the woods are starting to get really, really tight. Trees are getting closer together. It was really getting packed in there. So we decided, okay, we're going to go back up to the road. So we stopped, and there was a couple of trees that were in front of us. There was a real large tree that was off to our left and a kind of large one that was off to our right. So there was probably about 15, 20 feet between each tree. Okay. We could have went through it, but we would have ran into bigger trees and we couldn't have gone around. So when we start to back up the vehicle, now I'm sitting in the passenger seat and there's a total of 4 of us. As we're backing up, we saw something move from the left. And we thought, well, a tree, we might hit a tree. Tree's getting ready to fall on us because it was pretty big. And now, granted, he walked out from behind the tree, and it's still light out in northern Michigan, okay? even though with the, the trees and everything, it was still pretty light. So this thing moved out in front of us, and he was probably maybe 10 to 15 feet in front of us. I mean, it was pretty close. It was pretty close to us. So he was moving from left to right. And I mean, I remember looking at this thing right in his eyes, very large male, probably 7.5 feet. The hair was like a reddish brown color, very human face, massive jaw, flat nose, had a brow, he had a satchel crest on his head, very muscular body. I mean, very muscular. His arms, he looked like a bodybuilder. I mean, he was really muscular. And the one thing I noticed about him is that there was the hair, like on his chest, was like really thin and almost gone, like up on his shoulders a little bit, and on like the sides of his head and the back part of his back. And I noticed that the skin looked like really scaly, like it was flaking, kind of like mange on a dog is the best way I can describe it. And probably was an older male, and maybe that's why he looked like that. But his eyes, even with the sunlight, his eyes were like a reddish black color, no white whatsoever. It was just really dark. And when he moved, what was so odd, it was like he was gliding. I mean, it was just like real smooth glide as he was moving. And, long legs, long arms, long fingers. I mean, he was massive. But the thing about it is that it was so calm. We were calm. He was calm. He was watching us. We were watching him. We had our windows down, but I don't ever remember a smell or anything. I mean, it was just complete awe seeing this thing. So Bigfoot has been seen numerous times on that post. And I've been to that post several times prior. And I remember when we were out in the field, because the roads are like sandy and dirt. Okay. And I remember seeing large footprints out and going, just walking down the road and stuff, or whatever this thing was. And like I said, a lot of other people have seen this thing. So it was very common knowledge that there was something definitely there. But yeah, it was weird. And we ended up getting back on the road and went to the ASB, dropped everything off, and no one said anything to anybody about it. We did discuss a little bit, should we say anything or not? We decided not to say anything. And I didn't say anything for probably 10 years about it until I wrote Traces of the Grass Man, where I put it in there. And that was like the very first time, I talked about it, because back in the, like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s and stuff, it was kind of a taboo thing for a Bigfoot researcher to see a Bigfoot. Okay. And it was, people weren't really talking about it because, they weren't sure if you were telling the truth because you're a Bigfoot researcher and where's your photographic evidence, where's this and things. So no one really talked about it. Like I said, I didn't talk about it for years.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you would not say anything about it for so long. And then you say, okay, I'm going to write a book about this. Here we go.
Yeah. And like I said, it was just one of these things that, I felt it was the time, to say something about it and to, share my, my experiences. Because that's at the time, a lot of the researchers were coming out and talking about their experiences and so forth. And, like I said, I just felt it was my time, and, I got pretty good, feedback from people on it, which I thought was really good. And because, I had a trying to think of the right word here. I had a supreme sighting. Is the best way I can. I mean, this was the best. I mean, as close as I was to this thing, that to see so much detail in, in his face, his eyes, his body, it was, I don't know. It was like the best sighting anybody could ever have, and it was just, I mean, I wasn't scared, anything. It was just, like you said, it was just a really calm, friendly feeling seeing the thing. Cause, when I looked at it, I know he was looking right at me when I was looking right at him. And it was just one of these things where, there was no threat, it was calmness, and I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just, it never haunted me or anything like that. It's just, I just felt that I was given a blessing to see this thing, and maybe I was meant to see it. I don't know. Yeah, it was one of the greatest things in my life, that happened to me.
And how many other people were with you?
There's 3 other soldiers with me.
Yeah, you guys, first of all, to not be freaked out or have reoccurring dreams about it, nightmares.
Yeah.
One of the guys did. He freaked. It was the younger guy. It really freaked him out. Because he just ended up breaking down. When we got back talking about it, it's like, what did we see? What is this thing? This is not supposed to be here type thing. Because he never knew anything about this. And he never re-enlisted back in the military because he was not going to go back, and knowing that these things were out there, it bothered him that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about how Bigfoot and other cryptids are commonly seen, or at least I'll say that we've heard this, around military bases. Have you heard that too? And why do you think that is?
Military bases, there are always big forests and woods around. A lot of people don't realize that land between the lakes, that's where the 101st Airborne does all their training. That's why you see so much military there. Because
wow, really?
It's a big area. And, there's always wooded areas, a lot of wetlands and things like that that's in these areas. And, I remember when I was in Iraq, I was talking with an MP who was at Fort Benning, Georgia. And he got a call that there was somebody looking through windows and, base housing. So him and the female officer responded, and they were looking around, and they see this large object looking in the window. They hear a baby crying, okay? And this thing, and they get up on it, and they got the light on it, and there's this Bigfoot looking in this window where this baby's crying, and the Bigfoot's rubbing the side of the house, like it's trying to calm the baby.
Trying to
and the female officer, and that's what the female officer said. He's not hurting the baby. He's just trying to calm the baby down. That's why he's rubbing on the house. And then they end up seeing him, and it took off. So he said that was not a very uncommon thing for, Bigfoot to be seen at, down near Fort Benning and Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Man, there's so many stories that come out of there of the Bigfoot that's on the post down there. I've talked to guys that were going through Sacker School, which is there at Fort Leonard Wood, and these guys said they've seen these things out there on training exercises and things. And so it seems like, every military base, you're going to have some type of a sighting of something or some type of cryptid because, you have all that training area out there.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many people see something on military bases and just don't say anything about it, or they just
they don't because you don't want to get labeled a wacko, and that stuff, when it comes to promotion and things like that, that stuff haunts you. Because seriously, if we would have went back and said what we saw in the same way we said we saw it, they would have done a medical evaluation on us. I mean, seriously, I believe they would. But at the same time, the base knew so much activity there, they may have not have said anything to us. Don't say
They
anything.
have to know. I mean, they have to know that this is going on. So why would they?
Well, see, here's what happened 3 days before we started the range. Okay, there's a thing that's called lanes in the military, and what it does, it's just exercises, and you're being observed by officers watching you do certain exercises. Okay, and these two officers had a tent out in the field, and that's where they stayed, where they were able to watch the lanes. And when they came back, there was a Bigfoot at their camp, and this is on the same post, at their camp, looking in their tent. So they said something about it. I remember that, when we got back, from our sighting and stuff, I mean, people were laughing at these guys. They were joking with them. It's like, well, we're kind of glad we didn't say nothing. But we knew about that sighting happening because those guys had no problem telling people, because they had MPs out there, looking for this thing. And, I mean, it was a crazy situation.
Being that close to the Bigfoot when you saw it, like 10, 15 feet away, seeing all that detail, did that really spark your interest after that? I know you waited a while before you wrote the book and talked about it, but you had to.
Well, it sparked my interest to look more into the subject, okay? Because now I had validation that this thing existed. You hear about all these different sightings from different people, but you're taking their word on what they're saying. So this was validation that these things exist. Now, I've seen physical evidence. I've talked to the other, people, like, give you an example, there was a Quaker minister that was on his tractor, and, he was talking about how, because he was actually the one that called in on one of our shows, and he saw this thing on the inside of the fence where he was on the, plowing the field, and it was watching him. And as he got closer to it, it jumped over the fence, but it got caught in the barbed wire. So he got out and, looked, and it was a big, nice chunk of meat in the hair. So he collected that, and he, told us about it. We got a hold of it, and we sent it to Dr. Fehrenbach. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is.
No, I've never heard of him.
Back in the 80s or back in the 90s, Dr. Fehrenbach did a lot of DNA work on Bigfoot and things like that. He was a German, doctor, not like a medical doctor, but, just in just different degrees and things. He was so fascinated with Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And he did this book, talking about the different species of Bigfoot, how Bigfoot can exist in the real world, things like that. So we sent it to him, and there was this book that came out that Chris Murphy did, and it was like, I can't remember the name of it. It was like Who's Who in the Bigfoot Field. And it was he wrote it after this big conference in British Columbia, and I spoke at that. And Dr. Fehrenbach was there along with Renee DeHenden and John Green and Grover Krantz and so forth. And it was about that conference, but Dr. Fehrenbach used our stuff and took credit for it, which really made me mad, because the DNA showed of an unknown species of primate. Okay.
Interesting.
And and he even denied that we even sent it to him. And we have the picture to prove it, to the pictures in that book. I mean, that time is when I realized that, there's people in this field that's not in it for the love of it and to find the mystery. They're in it for the money. They're in it for the fame, the fortune, and whatever they can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, he did it. He took stuff that was literally ours and took credit for it.
Yeah, and they classified it as that, but it really probably didn't get him anywhere, did it? I mean,
no, it
unfortunately.
We don't know, because he kind of went off, off radar about a year later. And so I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to him or anything like that, but, we know there was validation that, it was an unknown species of primate. And, the thing of it is, it's like, you got to watch when you give stuff to people, physical evidence. Another case, a dogman case, about 2 years ago, I was filming for a show called Mysteries Decoded on Dogman. And we were at that Knob Creek National Forest. And I got there about 12 noon in the afternoon. And the film crew was supposed to be there at that time, but they didn't end up getting there till later. So I decided to walk around the field. And I ended up seeing something, off the corner of my eye, and this large branch comes thrown at me. So I saw this large animal just standing up and dropped. Okay. So I took pictures. I got some really good pictures of this thing. It's odd looking, but I gave that to them for the show, but they never used it. But I gave them hair samples, okay, from a case that we worked at. And here's the thing. The hair samples came back of a unknown species of wolf, but it was not connected to any known wolves in existence. Okay. So what they did, the DNA lab, I got it in a text where they sent it to me in a text where they said, okay, we're going to go ahead and send this to you in letter form. And I never got the letter. I said, can you send me the letter and send me the, hair samples back? They sent my hair samples back in a sandwich baggie that still had crumbs from a sandwich in it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Where they sat there and purposely contaminated the hair.
Wow.
And they still did not ever send me the letter stating what it was. So it goes to show me they knew what they found, and they weren't going to let the information out. And Mysteries Decoded, they even mentioned it in the show. It was from an unknown species of canine. So that was kind of some, validation there. But, I learned my lesson. I will never, ever turn over any type of physical evidence to some lab or something like that, or somebody who I don't know who they are.
Yeah, Brian and I have talked about that. If we ever came across a Bigfoot dead or something, which ain't going to happen, but if we ever did, or ever hit one with our car, we're not going to tell anybody. We're going to take as many pictures and samples that we can and keep shut about it, until the time is right or we know who to give this stuff to. Because the minute you do that, here comes the government saying, no, everybody keep quiet now.
Right. See, what people don't understand, okay, they say, I'm going to find a body, of a Bigfoot or a Dogman. So, I'm going to take it and take it and hide it. Well, yeah, that's fine, but you're going to get put in jail. Okay. Because what people don't understand, if it's, city land, that's theft. If it's county property or state property and you removed it, that's theft from county or state-owned land. Okay, and if you decide you're going to cut the head off for physical evidence, then they're going to sit there and put you in jail for mutilating a corpse. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that you just can't remove something off of federal land or state land or county or state or city, because they can sue you and have you arrested for theft. It's like you can go into a park and pick flowers. If a ranger sees you, if he wanted to be real asinine about it, he can charge you with theft.
Yeah, I never thought about that. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, we have here Shawnee National Forest and Wayne National Forest and things. A lot of people go in there fossil hunting. You know, most of the time they won't say anything, but if you find, you know, like a huge trilobite, and you remove it, they can arrest you for theft because it's on their land. You know, my whole thing, what I tell people, if you ever find a body, you know, first of all, when you go out to the field, you should always have some type of a bio kit or, you know, something, if just in case you find a body. You can take, you know, a couple hundred pictures of the body. You know, I tell people keep carrying an ink pad and, you know, plain white paper. Where you can put the ink on the palm of the hand or the foot, and you can get a copy of the, you know, dermal ridges real good, you know, the feet, the palms. You know, you can take hair samples from different parts of the body. You can do a swab, you know, the mouth. If you got a syringe and you got the right tube to put the blood in that keeps it from coagulating, you know, draw some blood if it's not, you know, already, you know, dried up. You know, there's so many different things you can do and still not get caught. Okay. I mean, you can even remove a tooth probably and get away with that part of it because no one's really going to check it. But, and then what I would do is have a couple of my friends out there in the woods with cameras. I would call the DNR. You can't call the police because the police don't know how to handle it. You would have to call like the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, have them come out and take them out and show them where the body is, and, you know, have your friends in a secret location film that you brought it out. So when you go back to them and say, hey, where's the body? And they sit there and say, we don't know what you're talking about. Well, you got physical evidence now.
Yep, that they'll try to take from you if you show it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, you know, the best thing to do is either bury it or hide it until you got a better way of dealing with, you know, getting it out. But don't mutilate the body. You know, just like I said, take as many pictures, hair samples from different parts of the body, swab the mouth, the nose, you know, get as much DNA as you can and give it to someone you can trust.
Tell us about your Dogman encounter in the Daniel Boone, you said.
Yeah, I was in Moorhead, Kentucky, and there was a small little Bigfoot get together there, and we had like a little lecture and stuff going on. So after the lecture, everybody went out to Daniel Boone National Forest to do a Bigfoot hunt, and that was the whole thing, was a Bigfoot hunt. So groups broke up into 3 groups. How Wayne National Forest is, there's like a lower trail, middle trail, and like a kind of an upper trail a little bit. So everybody took a trail group and you went on that trail, you know, looking for evidence and whatever information you can get. So we were on like the second trail. We were probably about a mile, maybe a mile and a half in, and there was a bend in the trail there. It was like a really sharp bend. And as we came over, most of us are wearing headlamps and so forth. And as we came around the bend, now this is to our right, okay? So we came around the bend, we were still on the trail, and we caught eye shine, which was a deer that was right there on our left, probably 15 yards. Okay. I can't be sure, but it wasn't far and it wasn't close. But you were able to get good detail. Now there was tree lines on both sides, but there was a little bit of a grass area on both sides because the tree line was kind of back a little bit. So when you went up where the deer was, there was 2 big bushes that you kind of had to go through the path on that trail. and the bushes were probably about maybe 5 feet, but they were probably 6 feet long, maybe. And the deer looked up, saw us, and as the deer did this like jump to go like over this bush, this large animal just stood up over on that bush, and I seen where his left arm grabbed the deer. We had the lights on it. We saw the snout, the high pointed ears, the long arms that looked like, human hand. I mean, it was very canine looking, and he grabbed that deer and he was gone. I mean, literally, he was gone that quick. But you got detail what this thing was. You knew this was a canine because of the high pointed ears and the snout. And then you hear this like screech sound from this deer, like he killed it or bit it or something. And it's like from there, it's like, we're moving on because we had older people with us. We had someone had their daughter with them, and it's just like, we can't be in a situation where someone's going to get hurt. So we just we went back. Everybody's starting to move back, and we ended up going back, and everybody got to a rally point after everybody did an investigation. We were talking about it. This is what we saw, and Daniel Boone National Forest is very well known for dogman sightings. The Kentucky Dogman Project, really good group of guys, getting some really good evidence out of Daniel Boone National Forest. Really good evidence out of there. They get some pretty good pictures. I mean, I really trust these guys. They know what they're doing. They know where to look, and they're getting some pretty good evidence, out of Daniel Boone. And they're the only ones I know right now that are actually doing any type of investigation down there. Because have you guys ever been like to Point Pleasant, West Virginia?
Yeah, I have.
No.
So when you got there, that feeling, the heaviness,
like
the real
tragedy.
oddness.
Yeah.
That's what Daniel Boone National Forest. I mean, it's just like you get there and you feel so sad and you feel, unsure. It was a wicked place. That's why the Native Americans never went in there. They knew that place was wicked, and just being there, it's a really intense feeling. And I've been there a couple times, and it's not really a place I really want to go. Like I said, it's just it's a heavy feeling. And like I said, the guys from the Kentucky Dogman Project, they feel it every time they're there, and they know they don't stay there long when they go on their investigation. So they'll set their trail cams up and do a little bit of investigation, and they'll go and come back. But these guys, they won't go by themselves out there. They're always going in teams when they go out there.
I don't blame them. I mean, I'm terrified of whatever dogman is, a werewolf or whatever these things are. I don't know that Bigfoot's dangerous so much, but I think the dogman is. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bigfoot, I don't think Bigfoot's anything like these movies where he goes into a campsite and rips everybody apart. What I found out is when you, like the Pacific Northwest, okay, going into Canada and so forth, Bigfoot's more docile, okay? He's not going to let you see him. If you see him, it's going to be one by accident, not by his choosing. And he'll throw a rock at you or a grunt or something like that just to get you out of the area. But he's not going to sit there and, eat your face off and things like that. When you go further across the country, when you deal like with Missouri and so forth, same thing. The Bigfoots out there, I've never really had too much of a report there where they were really, really dangerous there. Now, when you get out east, especially east of the Allegheny Mountains, they're more aggressive. Even going up further into New York State and New Jersey and so forth, these are very aggressive animals. They're not as big as they are out in the Pacific Northwest, but they're extremely aggressive. They'll let you know they're there. They'll let you see them, and they'll make sure that they get you out of the area. And that's what I found out when it comes to Bigfoot. Now, Dogman, yeah, I mean, this thing, yeah, he lets you know he's there. And he's not going to do a bluff charge, but he's going to chase you, and he's going to make you hurt yourself until he gets you. We've gotten so many articles that we've seen where people were killed by packs of dogs and things like that, where you just, these aren't dogs doing this. I got two autopsy reports from two sightings or two deaths that are allegedly by dogs. But when you read both of the autopsies, you can see the doctor's trying, he's having a hard time trying to get people to believe what he's saying or what he's being coerced. You can tell, okay? Because on the one case, this thing took the skin completely off the woman. The other guy, he was practically eaten, and it's just, they know it was a canine that did it because of the bites. But here's the thing, they won't release any of the photos of the autopsy or the photos of the victims. They would only release the basic reports of the autopsy. And like I said, the doctor, you can see the doctor had a hard time justifying what he was trying to say. There was definitely a cover up in this because, they're like 12, 13 pages a piece, and you're like reading this thing like, are you serious? This is a college graduate doctor trying to justify what he's saying when he knows it's just a bunch of BS, and because he's probably being told this is what has to be said. And we deal with a lot of that stuff.
Do you think that dogmen are responsible for a lot of the missing people that come up missing in the wilderness, in the woods, in the mountains?
You got to look at it this way. There's a lot of predators that are out there, that will kill a human and eat them. We're working on a map right now of bear attacks and bear kills across the United States compared to alleged dogman attacks, and see if there's any coincide, with these reports. Meaning that if they say, yeah, this person was attacked and killed by a bear, we could have been killed by a dogman because the wounds would probably be the same. Okay, and it would be easier to cover up saying it was a bear attack. So there's a possibility, that Bigfoot, Dogman, or other cryptids could be involved. But, the wilderness can kill you 1,000 different ways. Doesn't matter how good you're trained. I mean, it can kill you 1,000 different ways. But I do believe that a lot of people that are missing and a lot of people who are being mutilated is being mutilated by something. Because it's most animals, like a bear, he'll kill and he'll take and, bury the body someplace until he comes back to want to eat it again. Okay. Bobcats are, they'll eat on it and then they'll leave, and whatever rodents will sit there and eat it. But what we're finding out in some of these reports of deaths that no other predators came near the body or ate off of it. It was just one type of particular animal that did the damage. Meaning that, if a mountain lion or a bear kill something and eat it, other predators are going to come in there and they're going to eat off of it too. Or they'll try and take it away, from the other predator. And some of these cases where you hear about the bodies that no other predator ate off of it other than the main predator that killed it. So this thing might have left a scent on the body that other predators know to stay away from. I've got a picture of a deer that I found. You can see where the deer was laying in the brush, and you can see where it pulled the deer out about 10 feet because it had all the white hair on the stomach just went off the body, and where it was laying and made this trail of white hair. Okay, that's on the bottom of the deer. Now, both back legs were twisted off the deer. The jaw was literally just twisted, and the neck was broke. The stomach was ripped open, okay, because the entrails were laying next to the deer. Okay, so by the time I found it, the smell was already there, okay, and the entrails were already a brown color. So I took pictures of everything. And the thing that bothered me the most is that this thing was probably dead 2 days, and no other predator came and ate off of it. No coyotes get run off with the entrails from the stomach or the back legs that were laying next to it that was ripped off. I found that weird. Something killed this thing, ripped the stomach open, took whatever it wanted out of the stomach, because you can see where it pulled the entrails out of the stomach to get to what it, either the liver or, the kidneys or whatever. And that's what it wanted, and that's what it ate, and left the rest of the stuff there. But like I said, you can see where it just gutted it. And it's not a poached kill, because why would you want to take that stuff and not the meat on the deer? And why would you twist the back legs off and, twist the jaw off and snap the neck of this deer? I mean, it was just the oddest kill I've ever seen. And like I said, I took a bunch of pictures of it, and, like I said, it's just weird that no other predator ate off of it.
Well,
So
apparently there's something bigger and badder than most of the predators out there then.
Yeah, that's what I think, and it puts off so much of a scent that other predators know what that scent is, and they know to stay away from it.
Exactly.
Why do you think there's been more, or do you think there's been more dogman sightings lately over the past few years? And why do you think that is?
The sightings are just going up and up and up and up. Each year there's more and more sightings. Either these things are getting bolder or the population's getting bigger. There's a lot of tearing down forests, building up communities, things like that. We're getting into their territorial. They're coming into ours because, we're taking their environment away from them. They have to come look for food. And we're getting more and more sightings in residential areas of all places.
Yeah, we've had several dogman encounters, and they were in residential areas.
Yeah,
right in someone's backyard, on someone's patio. I mean, looking through the glass.
Right. Yeah,
creepy.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. There's a metro park in Akron, Ohio, where these things leave the park and they go over where this apartment or condominium area is, and they're feeding out the dumpster, and people have seen them. So yeah,
like we've said before, we want to go out looking for Bigfoot and see a Bigfoot, but I'm scared to death to run into a dogman.
Yeah, it's dogman is definitely the thing that goes bump in the night and it bites. We did about maybe 3 years ago. It might have been a little bit longer, maybe 4. Our organization did a contract with A&E on doing a show on Dogman, and we ended up filming 4 episodes maybe, and we had enough really good information that would surprise a lot of people. Okay. And when the executives from A&E was watching this before it was even aired, it scared them so much that they ended up canceling it because they said they don't want to be held responsible for someone having a heart attack because they sit there, these things are real. I mean, the evidence that we got, the audio, the video, the witness accounts was enough to scare them to saying that, no, people cannot handle this. People cannot handle it. So we ended up getting paid out of our contract, but they have all the evidence in video and everything, and we didn't get anything. But there was enough that I know that it would have been like this. Okay, you take someone my size, get done watching the show, wife tells them take out garbage. It's dark out. Opens the back door, stands on the back porch, looks left, right, runs to the garbage can, throw it in there, and runs back into the house. It would have been that type of a scenario. It would have scared them that much. That knowing that there's something out there. And that was the whole point of the show. That's the whole point of the show I wanted. People want to be scared. They want to be aware. They don't want to be entertained. Okay. And that was part of the problem is that they were more afraid that, one of us would have got killed because on our sizzle reel, we did this real beautiful sizzle reel for the show. And Dave Jones, one of the guys on the team, he wears a GoPro and so forth. And he said, look, if I get one on camera and it kills me, then I'll be the first one killed by a dogman, but at least I got it on camera. And that kind of bothered them, that he said that there's a possibility that, somebody can get hurt. But with that being said, we were a non-kill organization. Okay. We don't believe in killing the thing. We believe in protecting it. Even though it's a predator, it still has the right to be protected under law. Okay. Mm-hmm. So where it's not hunted. So you don't want to kill the species off because you're ignorant. Okay. And that was the whole point of our organization. We don't want to do that. But on the same hand, you have to have a security team to protect people. And you use deadly force as a last resort, but human life gets protected first. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they knew that, but they're like, well, what happens if it, one of these things goes for the security guy? They're not going to know who the hell the security guy is. You hit him once, he's going to feel it. If he's stupid enough, he's going to try again. And if the second time doesn't drop him, he's going to be in pain and, he's going to go away. That's the possibility, you have to deal with. But you can't find the truth with your hands in your pocket. Okay. And sitting behind a computer. You have to be out in the field. You have to be in their territory on their terms in order to find the truth. And if someone gets hurt, because we all know that there's that possibility we're going to get hurt when we're out in the field, not by a dogman or a Bigfoot. We could get bit by a snake. We get attacked by a bear, anything. We take that chance. But the thing of it is, you have to do what you have to do in order to find the truth. Okay. And you have to take that risk in order to do it. I was in Iraq and, it was a really bad situation. I was in some really bad situations, but I would go back in a heartbeat. Okay. You can't let it stop you. The truth is out there, and the truth needs to be told. And like I said, you're not going to find the truth sitting behind a computer.
Well, Joedy, we appreciate you taking the time tonight to talk to us. I know you got a lot more, and maybe sometime down the road we can get you back on. I know you got a lot of experiences going on.
I enjoyed it. I appreciate it, guys.
Hey, no problem.
Man, it's our pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
If our listeners want to get a hold of you or be on your North American Dogman Project on Facebook, is that where it's at?
Yeah, you can contact me through Facebook, any of the North American Dogman pages. You can text me through here. You have my email. Any of feel free to call. So yeah.
Once you solve this Dogman mystery, we'll get you back on. You can tell us what this thing really is.
Absolutely.
My whole thing is I don't want to solve it, because once you solve it, the mystery's gone, and you'd have to move on to something else.
That's true. Yeah.
And I hope it's never solved. It's like Bigfoot. It's one of these things you want it to always be there, and you just, if you find it, it's not worth looking for because it's already been found and proven. So it's one of these things that no, I don't. I hope it's never found. Dude. Pictures, good video, things like that. Yeah.
That takes all the fun out of it, right?
Yeah, it takes the fun out. But I don't want to see
keep the mystery going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Joedy. Privilege having you on, man. You keep in touch.
All right, brother.
All right, take care, man.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
It was really great having Joedy on. Cool.
It was.
Scary encounters he had. And
yes, very cool. I always love to hear the Dogman encounters.
I'm glad we got him on. And,
it was. Yep.
So, did you think about the trivia question there? I think you kind of know. I think you kind of guessed it. It was a reporter, right?
Yeah. And it was the reporter.
So you probably, what was the guy's name?
Andrew Gonzoli.
Andrew Gonzoli. So he was the guy.
Of the Humboldt Times.
The Humboldt Times. This Italian dude coined the phrase Bigfoot. In what year did he do that?
1958.
1958. A lot of people might have guessed more like 1960s, 1970. But yeah, way back in 58. When someone first, this is when someone first made any notice of it. They've probably seen footprints for a long time.
Oh, yeah. People have probably,
But
first time it actually made print.
Right. So, yeah, we like doing the trivia questions here and there when we can.
Yeah, it's fun.
And again, it was good having Joedy on, and really good episode. Again, give a shout out to Liv and her podcast, the Crypted podcast.
That's right, Crypted. Guys, check that out.
Yeah, make sure you check it out. Brian, it was awesome hanging out with you this episode, as always.
Always fun, man. Always learning.
All right, let's hit the road. What do you say?
Yep. See ya.